young black
A young black
equestrian.
equestrian.
black equestrian.
Equestrian.
Black equestrian.
I'm a young black equestrian.
I am a young black equestrian.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Young Black Equestrians, the podcast. Today we are going to be speaking with an amazing horsewoman named Jennifer Osbourne. Through her nonprofit, Fire and Ice Horse Rescue, Jennifer takes in thoroughbreds straight from the racetracks of California and retrains them for their future jobs and their forever homes. By the time a horse finishes her program, they have experienced trail rides, walk, trot, canter on a loose rein, and are comfortable in their jobs. Not only does Jennifer rescue horses, but she is also a professional firefighter. That's right, a black female firefighter at that. After pursuing multiple career paths and not quite finding her fit, she completed her training to become a firefighter and worked her way up to the role of engineer. So we are so excited to have Jennifer on with us today. We hope you enjoy this episode. Feel free to give us a like, subscribe, leave us a review. Tell us what you think about Jennifer and check out her rescue.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, first off, briefly just tell us about yourself, kind of where you're located, horses you have, discipline you ride.
Okay. My full name's Jennifer Osbourne. I'm 43. I live in Las Vegas. I run a small horse rescue called Fire and Ice Horse Rescue and Training. We rehome off the track thoroughbreds. I usually go to racetracks in California, and I get horses right from the racetrack, and then I retrain them, primarily in the discipline of 3-day eventing, but they all have a general foundation in trail riding. Every horse that I rescue, by the time they're adopted, they can walk, trot, canter on a loose rein. They can stand tied, do everything that a horse for the average horse person can then handle the horse from there on out.
Right.
What I do for a living is I'm a professional firefighter. I've been a firefighter for 13 and a half years for Clark County Fire Department. And 7 years ago, and I know this because Facebook just reminded me, so it's 7 years ago this month, I was promoted to the position of engineer, which means basically in short means that I drive the fire engine and I pump the water and do all that kind of stuff. So,
and blow the horn.
Yes, and run the siren and everything like that. So, yeah.
That's cool. That is cool. So what made you want to become a firefighter?
It's kind of a weird story. It was not a direct trajectory. As you probably know, it's not the kind of field that we as a culture really gravitate towards. So, and it wasn't really even in my wheelhouse. So basically, when I was 17 and I graduated graduated high school, I went to Michigan State University, and I wanted to become a veterinarian and do all that stuff. And then my parents got divorced and my dad stopped paying for college. So then I came home and I was wondering, how can I pay for college? And while I was waiting tables, I was home in the middle of the day and they had this news special about careers that you can make a decent living at, but you don't have to have a college education. And paramedic was one of them. So that day I started making arrangements in order to become a paramedic. I went back to Michigan, went to paramedic school, finished paramedic school. I ended up transferring from Michigan State to Colorado State to finish up my bachelor's degree, because by then I had realized that being a veterinarian didn't make enough money to pay off the tremendous amount of debt that you incur. And I was getting older and I just understood money a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So So I got my bachelor's degree from CSU. And then when I was finished, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was making, pretty decent money as a paramedic, but I knew I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life.
Right.
And so at the fire department there in Fort Collins, they only had one black firefighter on their department. And he was talking about becoming a firefighter, and he made it sound so great. And then he told me how much they make, and how many days a month they work. And I was like, all right, well, if I can do it, I'll do it. And so then, once again, it's kind of my personality. Once I put my mind to it, that's it. I'm going for it. So, I started training, trying to get, in better physical shape than I already was. And then, started working out, started testing for fire departments. And then the way I got to Las Vegas was, another friend of mine said, oh, we should go to Las Vegas because it's the fastest growing fire departments in the country, and they're hiring. All you have to do is be a paramedic and you're going to get hired. And that's basically what happened. I moved to Las Vegas, and I think it took me a year or so to get hired. And then the rest is history. I've been working at the fire department ever since then. So that was 13 years ago or so. So
Wow.
I actually know a lot of firefighters in my family.
Oh, do you? Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's now that I think of it, I know a couple that I don't know. And they're also horse people.
Yeah. That's random, but I wish there was more. Like, we're always trying, there's less women than there is African American. So our push is always, women first. So the women on the department, like, that's like always like kind of our strive is because there's enough people kind of handling the other side of it. And so we're always just trying to get more females. And the females on our department, our numbers are half of what it was when I first got on, which I did not know until one of the males on my crew actually brought it up. He said when he was hired, he was the one that was more in touch than I was. And he said when he was hired, there was over 30, and right now there's 12. Wow. So and what's that? I'm sorry.
I said that's a huge drop.
Yeah, and we have over 700 people in suppression on our department. So out of 700, only 12 of them are women. So it's one of those things that, like, we need to make a little bit more of a push on our department. Yeah. But it's one of those things that it's not going to change overnight. So.
Right. So after all that, or I guess before all that, you got into horses, kind of prior to the whole career shift and things. So tell us a little bit about that, how you got into horses.
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to go to vet school was because, I've always loved horses. And the way I got into horses is kind of a weird story. When I tell it nowadays, people it starts off like it could be possibly like a creepy thing, but it really was not. So I lived in New Jersey when I was a kid. I was 3 or 4 years old, and the neighbor across the street was like a low-level gangster. And he had trotting horses in Yonkers, and he also had horse coloring books and little horse toys and stuff. And my brother and I would go over there to play, and he would let me play with the horses and the coloring books and all that. And so I started getting really interested, and then he told my mom, oh, you should take her to the pony rides at this local park that was in our town. And so my mom started taking me there, and then that was it. That's, hundreds of thousands of dollars later now, it's history. It's history. That was it. We ended up moving to Illinois, and then my mom was like, okay, well, do you want to take riding lessons? And I said, yes. And then she said, well, do you want to do English or Western? And I didn't care. Whatever gets me to it faster was my answer. And then she talked me into riding English. So that's what I've always ridden, even though now, because I do breaking and training of horses, I will ride Western, but I've never, I've only competed in one Western thing, and it was a little tiny backwoods kind of thing. It wasn't anything big, but all my competing is all 3-day eventing now. So.
Right. Cool. So when did you start the whole 3-day eventing? Like, was that kind of when you were doing your lessons as a kid, or did that come later in life?
No, that was later. So, so when I got on the fire department, because, we make a good living, and I was actually able to buy my first horse. And I wanted to, get into, training horses and selling them. And then that kind of, the second horse that I got is my, I guess, quote, my marquee horse, the horse that I take everywhere, that I've had the longest. He's a big red chestnut that he'll be on my Instagram page a lot. And I've had him, I think either 10 or 11 years this year. When I got him, he was so out of control, just so crazy, and like he couldn't even walk over a ground pole. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, what am I going to do with this horse? I don't even know how to train it. But once again, I just, thought to myself, okay, well, there has to be information out there. So I just started researching a lot, to just get some training on this horse. Well, simultaneously, I was working with this lady who, she was giving me lessons, and she was a 3-day eventer. And she said, hey, why don't we let him get a look at something solid? And, let me just remind you, this horse couldn't get over a ground pole at this point. Like, he would break him in half. Like, he would trample jumps. And then now she's saying, why don't you go over something solid? I thought, well, okay, she's obviously wants me to die, so she can take my
Can he go over it by himself first?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, did you just see him trample? Okay, whatever. And she was like, no, you don't understand. They see the solid stuff better. It's fine. They understand it. And he trotted up to it and just went right over it like it was nothing. And we haven't looked back since. So it was him. I tell people I never wanted to do eventing. He did. So he made me do it. And so now we compete at training level, which the jumps, I think the highest they can go is 3'5". And then I don't remember the exact width of the jumps, but there's specifications for that. So, but yeah, so now we do training level, and that's probably where we're going to top out at. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun and a lot of learning. So, and I think everybody has that one horse that teaches them how to be a better horseman, and that horse. So.
Yeah. So the 3-day eventing, that's the dressage, show jumping, and eventing. He's obviously better at the jumps now. Yeah.
It's dressage. You do, so a lot of events now aren't really 3 days, but now, we still call it 3-day eventing. But usually first day, actually always the first thing you do is dressage. And then sometimes at lower levels, they'll make you do show jumping first. But the traditional format of 3-day eventing is dressage, cross country, which is the solid jumps, which is the dangerous part. And then you finish, your last day is then show jumping. And it's supposed to test, the training of your horse in every possible aspect of your horsemanship. If it was Western, it would be like the rein cow horse event, where they have to do reining, then they have to do cutting, and then they have to go down the fence with the cow. It's the same concept in 3-day eventing, where you're doing 3 sports, which they're similar, but they're all very different, and you have to train all 3 of them in order to be successful.
Right. Oh, that's cool. Eventing is still his favorite, though?
The cross country part.
Yeah. The cross country.
Yeah. He just, he's 17 too. So he's an ex-race horse. He's just built to eat up the ground, and just, that's what he's made to do. And so he always, like, when we step out onto the field, he's I don't have to, I'm not making people that say, oh, you're making this horse do, I'm not making him do anything. Like he wants to do it. So I'm just along for the ride. I just kind of hold on and just point out which jumps we have to go over.
That's funny.
I think it's amazing that you could find something that he would enjoy. You know, like you said, some people think like you're making a horse do certain things, or people aren't sure what their horse is good at. But for him to have kind of put y'all in that path of doing eventing, and you enjoy it, and he enjoys it, I think that's really dope.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because he is a very, very anxious, nervous horse by nature. So he actually is better when we're doing that, because he just relaxes, because he's getting to do his most favorite thing, which is just run really fast. And he just, I mean, from start to finish, his ears are up. He's just, I mean, he's that, you know, perfect partner, you know, that you want. I mean, our biggest problem is he'll try to jump anything, whether he can make it or not. And so it's up to me to be the, you know, like kind of the governor and be like, hey man, so that would be probably our biggest issue, would be like, sometimes I have to pull him off jumps, like, hey, it's not right, we're gonna get hurt. And he's fighting me, like, no,
let me just try.
Yeah, he's like, I got this, man. What are you talking about?
Well, it's definitely a partnership.
Yeah.
Did he have any issue with the water? I know a lot of them have water components to them too.
Yeah, especially as you move up the levels, so the levels in eventing, it goes intro, beginner, novice, training, prelim, intermediate, and then advanced. And anything above intro always has a water element in it. And so, like I said, when I got him, I had a lot of issues with him just in general. And I did, and this story is probably the evolution of just my horsemanship to where I am right now, and how he changed me. So I had him for, I think, just over a year when I did a clinic with Greg Best, who won the silver medal in show jumping. And he was my idol growing up. We used to sit around the barn and watch him, you know, show jump. He had a horse called Gem Twist, which everyone calls the best show jumping horse of all time. And so I was so happy I was going to be in this clinic in front of, you know, my childhood idol. And I'm riding, MC, my horse, and he's grinding his teeth from start to finish. He's just sweating and nervous and anxious. And by the end of the 3 days, he was better, but he was still so anxious. And I have Greg Best on tape saying to me, like, wow, like, this horse at times is almost unrideable. Like, you have to get some training on him. There's a screw loose. There's something wrong with him. And he's all, if I had a horse like this in training that was this anxious, we would probably have to sedate him to put some training on him, because otherwise he's going to be, completely unrideable. Right. And so and this isn't somebody who's like, from a backyard. This is a guy who has seen thousands of horse and rider combinations. He's not just, putting that out there.
Playing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he knows what he's talking about. He's not just, exaggerating it. So I didn't want to sedate him. And so once again, I was still in the process of looking for better ways to train the horse. And right around, I can't remember if it was before or after that, but right around that, within a month or two, Clinton Anderson had a arena tour come to Las Vegas. And I somehow in the mail got free tickets. I don't know if I was on some kind of list or something, but I got free tickets and I went to it. And I had never heard of him. I didn't know who he was. And I don't know if you've really got, if the East Coast, most people don't know about him either, but he's a professional horse trainer. And when you go to one of these shows, it's like the Rolling Stones. It's ridiculous. Like, he comes out and there's lights and music and people are standing up. The crowd, it's sold out.
Yeah.
for horse training.
Mm-hmm.
And people are standing up and they have all these yellow towels that say his catchphrase, no worries. And they're swinging the towels around and they're screaming. And I'm like, what am I about to see? This is ridiculous. What is going to happen? And so he comes out on his marquee horse at the time, which was this horse called Mindy. And he does this entire Liberty performance with the horse completely like untied to him. And I'm just thinking, okay, well, he didn't just get this horse yesterday. Like, you have to like have, I mean, this took years to do, but a lot of trainers lie about that. They'll just be like, oh, I just, you know, it took me 5 minutes to do this. So he does this Liberty performance and he gets on the horse bridleless and saddleless at the end and rides it around. And then the lights come up and he starts talking. And the first thing he said was, I didn't get this horse yesterday. I've had this horse for 17 years since she was born. And it took me that long to get this horse to be this way. And all of the production aside, I liked his humility. I liked the fact that he was so honest about horse training. And then I sat and watched as he trained several other horses, problem horses, throughout the weekend. And I was blown away. And I was like, okay, this is what my horse needs. And at the time he had a series just specifically for thoroughbreds. So I went and got that. I didn't buy his whole thing. I just went and got the thoroughbred thing. And I followed that. And I had such dramatic results that 8 months later, I did another clinic with Greg Best, and he couldn't believe it was the same horse. He was blown away. I have him on video again saying, I can't believe what you did with this horse. It's amazing in such a short period of time. And it's all due to, you know, Clinton Anderson and doing that method. And so then a couple years later, I did an actual clinic with Clinton Anderson. And then since then, what I've been able to do with horses since then is it's life-changing. It really, I think that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is how I want to train horses, and this is how I want to be with horses.
Right. That's cool. I mean, I've heard of him, but I haven't looked into his, like, you know, his program or, you know, his whatever. The word is escaping me, but his principles, whatever.
His whole like his whole philosophy and everything.
Yeah, philosophy. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. A lot of he doesn't have a really big presence on the East Coast because he rides Western, so it's more English out east, and so he kind of hasn't filtered in there. And some of his techniques are so foreign to people who ride English that they're less likely to kind of just be open-minded about it. And so that's where he kind of has like a little bit of a gap there. But for me, I have no problem taking what he's applying to, okay, yeah, like you might be using it for a reiner, but like we can also use it for show jumping and jumping and just getting a better horse overall, like just getting the horse broke. Right. You know, and then going from there.
Right.
Those programs would come on like some channel early Saturday mornings or early Sunday mornings. But that's great that you got a second opinion instead of just saying like, oh man, this guy said I should sedate him to do this training. You know, who knows how the horse would have ended up if you would have took that route.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, I don't know where this horse would be if I hadn't put this type of training on him. And I think he would have been a lot better off if I had done the training a lot earlier in his life and not done it the wrong way and then had to come back
and fix it
and redo it. And so because of that mistake, I made him a promise that he'll stay with me for the rest of his life, because I can't guarantee that he can go, because he still has like little issues here and there that I'm aware of, but it can be dangerous for other people. So he's forever in the rescue because I feel like I screwed him up a little bit. So I'm going to take that responsibility. He can stay with me. But every horse since then, I've gotten better at rehabbing. And our latest horse, we were able to donate it to the Forest Service. And I mean, he's a 4-year-old off the track, and they have a picture of him standing. They were fighting a forest fire, and the horse is just standing there with his leg cocked, like falling asleep. And this is an ex racehorse that's 4 years old at the time of the picture.
Yeah.
And yeah. Wow. And that's how solid this training is. It works every single time on every horse.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool. So, I mean, what are some of the major challenges, or if you've had any, you know, being a minority in the horse industry in your area?
I've had the advantage of just throughout my life living all over the country. I've lived coast to coast. I lived in, you know, New Jersey, Michigan, Illinois, Colorado, and now I live here in Las Vegas. And I would say there's kind of no difference coast to coast. It's still there. I would say that as a whole, just in general in life, I think that there's still little weird things that happen. I think as I've gotten older, it gets a little bit more subtle, but it's still there. When I was a kid and we used to walk into like a tack store or something, people would immediately come up to us and be like, oh, are you in the right store? Like things like that. You know, just little things like that. When I went to Colorado State and I was taking, I signed up for the advanced jumping class. And since I was a transfer student, nobody had ever seen me. And so usually you progress through the levels, but I was good enough to ride and I remember when I first showed up and I was grooming my horse, getting ready for the first day, a lady who was teaching another class, not the lady that was teaching that class, came up to me and she was like, oh, are you sure you're in the right class and this and that? And I was just like, yeah, I'm sure. And then she kept up with it. Like she wouldn't let it go. Yeah. And then like back then, especially 20 years ago, I still have a little bit of a smart mouth, but back then it was way worse. And so, yeah. And so she said, she kept just, oh, are you sure? Are you sure? Are you sure? Just, you know, real, just kind of needling me. And so then I finally just turned to her and I said, hey, look, guess what? If I fall off, then you can kick me out of the class. How about that? Mm-hmm. You know? And she was like, oh, okay. Like, and she walked off. And then throughout the semester, every single person in that class fell off, including the TAs, except for me. I was the only person in the class that did not fall off. Even both of the TAs fell off. So, yeah, so after that, I didn't get any more problems there. But it's always like little, just
little microaggressions.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just little comments like, where are you from? Are you from the planet Earth? I don't know.
Right.
Where you came from? Like, why? I don't get it. And I'm just like, what are you really trying to ask? What are you, you know, I mean, you're really trying.
They know their real question.
Yeah. And so then I'm purposely evasive because I know what they're trying to ask. When they say, where are you from? I go, all over. What they're really asking is, are you from the ghetto where I hear black people come from? That's what they're trying to say, but I won't give it to them. No, I'm not. And they just can't believe. I mean, even though, you know, the Huxtables put it out there and they're like, hey, you know, black people can be educated and have money and have, you know, sophistication and all that. There's still this disbelief because there's not a lot of us. There's not a huge presence of us. So, yeah, like I get those little questions and those little comments and just, and I don't know. I mean, I think just as I've gotten older, I just don't care. I usually come up with some wisecrack or something and I just blow it off. Usually. Yeah. I haven't had nothing really like comes to mind of really like stand out, like aggression, not for, I mean, okay, so the big thing, and it's been on our mind here recently at our current ranch where the horse rescue is, and this would probably be an interesting topic for any horse person. It's ranch staff versus anyone who boards. Because, and then I'm always the first target because they think, oh, well, I know all these people are looking down on me, and I definitely don't want her looking down on me. And so there's always this little bit of animosity between ranch staff and boarders, and then it's a whole different level when it's with me. They always start in with me first. And so I've always had that little bit of, I always try to be nice at first, but it never fails. 95% of ranch staff have an issue. Especially the ones that are Caucasian, they will definitely have an issue because they're like, well, I'm not taking orders from her, and so there's that whole little bit of and that kind of stuff, there's nothing micro about their aggression. Like it's real. Like I've come toe to toe with people like screaming at me and blowing up and whatever, and over, them. It's always when they've made a mistake and I call it to their attention and they don't like it.
Right.
So, and that's a classism type thing. And then you put color on top of it. It just, it's a powder keg that's just kind of waiting to explode. So it's just one of those facts of life that you just kind of have to deal with. So I'd probably say that's probably the biggest hurdle. That's in the forefront of my mind right now is just dealing with ranch staff. And because for the most part, everybody is just, once they get over the initial shock, it's fine. Like,
When people do that, they don't even consider, horsemanship anymore. Like that goes out the window. They're just looking at the color of your skin. It's like, okay, well, we are all connected. And if we want to be better horsemen and women, why wouldn't you listen to each other, no matter, who you are?
Yeah, but they just can't get past it, and they're so fixated on one thing, and I mean, usually these are the type of people who have lots of problems, that just being one of them. It's not, but it's still there. It's like one of those things that you're on the way to the barn, you're like, oh, I hope that person's not there, So it's just one of those things. But that's life. I mean, nothing's ever perfect, so I'm not bitter about it. It just is what it is.
Yeah. So let's chat about your rescue. When did that first start, and what kind of inspired you to go that route?
I started the rescue in 2013 after running the horse business just as a business for a little while, and I just felt like it was a combination of things. One, my accountant suggested that I turn it into a rescue. And I thought about it, and I just felt like, and I still kind of feel this way, that a lot of people getting into horses don't really know what to do with the horse. And once, especially, I don't know if it's the same out east, but out west, there's no kind of infrastructure. Once you buy the horse, there's no support system. You buy the horse and you go off down the road, and that's it. Like there's no one to help you except probably some redneck sitting on a fence going, oh, you don't do it like that. And so you don't have any anyone to and then you're like, oh, do I pay this person money? I don't know. So there's no real infrastructure out west. And so here I am retraining all these thoroughbreds who can be difficult by nature if you don't do the right training. And I was just like, person after person would come by to look at these horses, and I'm like, I can't in good conscience send this horse down the road with this person.
Right.
And I felt like being a horse rescue would give me a lot more latitude to I don't know, just vet the people.
And stay connected to them.
Yes. Yeah. People even now, for the horse rescue, you can't just come and adopt the horse and I'll never talk to you again. No, I'll be, texting you, checking, and not in a punitive sort of way. I want to make sure that you are safe, that the horse is safe, that everything is going well, that you're not like, oh, I wish this chick would just come and take this horse, which I've done. And I tell everyone, I'm like, look, if it is not working out, I will come and pick, no questions asked, and I will not, I mean, if it's not a fit, it's not a fit, and it's fine. So that's more of what, and being a horse rescue gives me that latitude. Actually, later today, like when we end this, I'm driving a horse up to Utah to see if he'll fit as a horse for their equestrian team. So, you know, I mean, but I don't know. It's not a given. I don't know. So, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. How many horses have you had come through your rescue?
I think I'm about at 10 right now, because I'm basically self-funded. I have a couple of donors that donate a lot of money, but because I don't have my own property, it's hard for me to get like the numbers, and I always want to make sure that there's quality, like, and so I'm not one of those huge rescues that is putting out 100 horses a year, because if you do, and if you do that, it makes it a lot more difficult to keep an eye on each of them and make sure everybody's doing all right. And oh, do you guys need me to come out and help? Do you need me to, you know, I mean, you know, the one horse that's in force service is in Bishop, California, which is about a 6-hour drive from us. Two of my rescue horses are in Virginia with a girl who adopted both of them. She took the horse that I used in Retired Racehorse Project last year, and then she took another horse called Malibu Canyon a couple years ago. Moved to Virginia. I'm flying out there in April to just kind of hang out with her, and we're going to take a couple lessons together. And so it's like I'm slowly building a little community of people. And that's, I mean, I always say that, like, it's a horse rescue, but we probably rescue as many people as we rescue horses. So it's just, you can't, I thought when I first started the horse training business, and it wasn't a rescue, I thought I could just train the horses and send them off and everything would be fine. And no, it does not work that way. Like, now I work with the people and the horse for a long period, like, let them I don't just say, hey, okay, now you're going to take the horse and I'll never see you again. Like, I work with them. If they have problems, I come and help solve them. And so it's more of a just, you know, okay, we're using horses to help people kind of thing.
Right. How do you find like balance between your career and the rescue? My boyfriend would say I don't have balance. That's most answers. There isn't one.
And so he would say I don't have balance. I've always, and me, it's always like, you know, telling how I got to where I am. I didn't get to where I am by standing still. And one of my aunts always used to say, oh, she'd be like, oh, that Jennifer, grass doesn't grow under her feet. And so that's kind of, I've always been like that. I don't like to sit still. I don't like to sit in the house. I don't like to, I hate it. Luckily, my job, we work 10 24-hour shifts a month. And now I have enough time. I'm more than halfway through my career at the fire department. So I have a lot of vacation time. And so I use a lot of that. And it's just having that job and having full days with the horses helps. Like, I have no less than 20 full days a month with my horses. And so that helps, not getting out of work at 5 and trying to rush to the barn and then trying to get home and having, you know, I have those full days where I'm not there, but then I'll have, you know, a bunch of days in a row where I am there. So that helps a lot. And it's just, it's time management. And honestly, like, I honestly don't know how people with regular jobs get anything done, because everything is open from 9 to 5, and that's when you get out of work. So I don't know how normal people do it. I really don't. Like, because today, I mean, I had all day to get stuff done. Like, you know, I mean, because I'm off. And so I don't understand how, if you work Monday through Friday, how you get anything done. You know, I mean, What do you do?
Yeah, you don't.
Saturday?
You don't. It's a horrible system. It's a horrible system. I don't like it. I don't like it.
It's really not. I mean, somebody did not think this out correctly. Like,
I know. Like I was like, yeah. Last year I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get into endurance. I'm gonna like, train my horse and we're gonna ride. And then I was like, okay, so if I'm gonna do like a 25 miles, I need at least like 8 hours.
Yeah,
uninterrupted time. Okay, when do I have that 8 hours? Okay, every other Saturday. I don't have enough time to be.
No,
we gonna ride at midnight.
yeah. And that's. I mean, that was actually. I mean, one of the reasons I picked this profession was like, oh, okay, so I get whole days off. All right, sweet. Like, and it rotates throughout the month, so it's not always on the weekends. Yeah. And so, like, it could be Tuesday, and I have all day on Tuesday, to do an 8-hour ride. And that's why I'm able to start horses too, is because I'm not trying to rush off to work. So if a specific horse needs 2 hours, okay, I don't care. I got all day. I mean, the horses hate it because they're like, oh, I know she's going to get tired. And I'm like, no, I
ain't got nothing else to do.
Yeah, this is it.
Like, so jealous of you right now.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and it's just, you won't be jealous. I mean, most firefighters end up getting cancer, so at least you won't get
I was about to say, I don't want to actually fight the fires, but
we do for hours.
And I'll blow the horn and all that. Yeah. So what advice would you give the aspiring, equestrian, whether it be owning a rescue or just riding or anything?
I would say get out there and try as many disciplines as you can. I mean, I've ridden a lot of different disciplines. I've ridden in, obviously, dressage, jumping. I've done a little bit of endurance stuff. I've done a little bit of Western stuff. I've done fox hunting. I've even, traveled to Ireland and did some riding over there. I did some carriage driving.
I was just gonna ask if you had done driving.
Yeah, I did do some carriage driving in Ireland. I mean, just try everything, and then that's the way you'll find what you really like. I would say if you're gonna, that's as far as riding horses. As far as running a business, I would say if you're going to run a rescue, run it like a business. It's a business first. And then if you're running any business, whether it be horses or anything, the most important thing in any business is networking, and it's word of mouth, and it's getting to know people, especially in this digital age. You might think it's not as important to get to know people, but it's more important because there's less personal interaction. So it's more important to just have that personal interaction with people, because that's what's going to keep people coming back, and that's what's going to make you successful ultimately. And when you get to know people, they'll understand that you stand behind your word. And that's another thing, always stand behind your word. Even if it's hard. When a couple years ago, the horse Malibu Canyon, he went to a guy in Colorado, so he went to a guy in Colorado, and the guy promised me he had a horse trainer and they were going to train the horse and all this. And so the horse went, and I'm messaging him for maybe a couple weeks, and he wouldn't message me back. And then finally messaged me back and said everything was fine. And so I didn't think anything of it. And then 2 weeks later, he messaged me and said, okay, I lied. It wasn't fine. We're having trouble with this horse. And so I flew out to Colorado to help him. And I helped them, and they were thankful. And they were like, okay, we're going to do what you said. And then I left, and they didn't do what I said. And so then a month later, they were like, yeah, I just don't think this horse is working out. And so I said, okay, I made your promise. I'll take the horse back. And then he wanted his donation refunded. So I went ahead and refunded it to him, even though it was hard. Because at that point, I didn't have a lot of money. And so it was hard I'd already reinvested that donation, because this was like probably 6 or 7 months into so I'd already reinvested that into a new horse. And so it was not easy for me to take that donation money, but I refunded it. And I think, like, if I hadn't, it would have given me a bad reputation, especially as a minority. They're going to remember you. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, who was that? No, they know it's you. And so I refunded the money. It wasn't easy. And now the horse is at an excellent home, and it worked out. But I think, like, when you're running a business, sometimes it's hard to make that right decision, even when you know the other person might be in the wrong. Just always make the decision looking into the future. Don't look at what's right in front of your face. Look 10, 20 years down the road. What do you want your reputation to be? What do you want, to stand behind? And that's another reason why that one horse stays with me. I don't want one of my horses going out and they're like, oh, that horse isn't really that trained, or, oh, this or that, or whatever. I'm always thinking, this horse is a reflection of me. And so as a horse trainer, your horses are a reflection of you, good or bad. And so always keep that in mind. But, at the core, I would say that probably the most important thing, like, if I could, talk to college kids that are, equine science major like I was, I would say, start the networking, get in with, a good vet, a good farrier, a good, because those are the people. Hey, I have this horse. Oh, I know this person. Oh, let me get to know this person that lives here. Or, oh, this person has pasture turnout out here. Oh, how did you meet this person? Oh, through this person. And so you build your little network of connections, and then it makes everything a lot easier and a lot more fun too, because you're not out there all by yourself.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, your network is not just the people you know. Once you know that person, I feel like it gains you access to their network.
Yes.
Because they will refer people, or, give you pointers, or, hey, I know a guy,
Yeah.
So I completely agree with that advice, because that's very, very important.
Yeah. And I mean, and if I had anything else, I was just talking to a clinician who we're going to have come down in July. He's really good. I was talking to him about it, and he brought it up on one of his podcasts. And I think that a lot of people who are amateurs get embarrassed about going to competitions in front of other people because they feel like they're going to be judged or whatever. You just have to find a way. And I don't want people staring at me. I don't want people thinking this or thinking that. You just got to find a way to just put yourself out there and not really worry about that kind of stuff. And it's easier for me to say that because everything I do, I'm the only Black person everywhere. So I'm used to getting stared at. So I don't really care by now. And I know that's a hard thing for a lot of people, but once you just start getting out there, and then you just get used to it, and you're just like, people stare. It's really not that big a deal. I would say that would probably be the second thing other than networking. Don't be afraid to get out there, because there's going to be people who stare, but then there's going to be people who are really encouraging, and you wouldn't have met them if you didn't go out there and go out to competitions. Go out to clinics, put yourself out there and challenge yourself. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself, because that's, you miss out. I mean, you only got one life. So
yeah. I remember going to a horse show. I only went because my photographer was there photographing the horse show, and I went to just hang out with her and keep her company. And I had my hair so big. And this guy, I was just walking. I was looking for her, and I was walking, and this guy like ran up to me, and he was like, "Oh my God, I love your hair." And I was like, I was just like, okay. Now I feel like this hair is real big. Right. But I mean, it was something like, if you're gonna be looked at, give them something to look at.
I honestly, like, I really, and I when I was my 20s, I was not as comfortable, but now I don't care. On my eventing vest, I have the Punisher skull like spray painted on it. I don't care. Stare, get your looks in.
Yeah,
it's fine. And then when you fall off, I will go riding right by you. It's fine. Like, it's totally fine. Like, and that's like, now people know me in this little area in California and Arizona, so nobody stares anymore. But the first couple times I went to clinics and stuff, people were like, "Oh, what are we gonna see?" And I was just like, whatever. Now I'm just like, yeah. Now they're like, "Oh, that's Jennifer." So
that's cool. Caitlin, you got any more questions?
I do. Jennifer, do you plan on owning your own land?
Yes, that's actually a good question. Yeah. So my boyfriend and I are actually right now planning. We're looking in northern Arizona, like kind of Flagstaff, Prescott, kind of in that area. It'll make it a lot easier to take in a lot more horses because they'll be on pasture. And that's one of the things that stinks about Las Vegas is it's all stalls. Like, there's no turnouts. There's no pastures. There's no turnouts. And so when I retire in 7 years, that's the plan, is to, go get some land, have some horses, and go from there. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Ooh, that's cool. That is everybody's ultimate goal, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And then we interviewed this guy out in Texas, and he's like, "Oh, we got a little bit of property in Texas." And I was like, "Oh, how many acres?" He's like, "Well, there's 250 acres over here, and then 100 acres over here." And I was like,
and there's 50 more down the road.
Right. Like, I'm sorry. I thought I was balling on 7. And I'm
right. Yeah, that's what I'd be looking for, would be 7. I'd be like, wow, that's a huge property.
Yeah. And he's like hundreds of acres. I'm like, sir, let me get some of that. Just a little corner. You won't even know I'm there.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
No. But
awesome. I think that y'all will definitely get it. You might get it sooner than you think. So
yeah, hopefully.
Well, shout out your social media and website and all that stuff, so our audience can go take a look.
Okay, our website is fireandicehorses.org. And then I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, Fire and Ice Horses on all 3 of those, where you can find us. And there's links from the webpage as well to that. So if you just type in Fire and Ice Horses in Google, I'm pretty sure we're the first one that comes up. There is another one in Florida, but that's not us. So we're the one in Las Vegas. So, and there's pictures of me, so it'll be pretty obvious which one it is. So.
Right. Unless it's run by a Black woman, it ain't us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Have a safe trip on your drive, and good luck with all of that.
Thank you. And I'll make sure to send you, I can't remember her name right now, but she runs the Retired Racehorse Project thing, and it's really well done. So
awesome. I'm gonna go check it out. I'm gonna go check out the podcast right now. So
yeah.
You have a great evening.
Yeah, you too, and good luck with the endurance riding.
I need time. I need more time. I need like full days.
Yeah, you do. I mean, even for us in 3-day eventing for the cross country, you have to have gallop days where where you gallop your horse. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a pain, but we'll work it out.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Good luck.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of Young Black Equestrians, the podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends your favorite episode. Be sure to head over to our YouTube channel to check out our visual content, and we'll see you guys next week.